For you guys know me as What You Need. I'm Anson Phillip. All praise be to the Most High God. The Most High God comes first. Today is a holiday. In my country, it is Independence Day. Celebrations, at least it's a holiday. Yesterday, August the 31st, was the 63rd anniversary of our country's independence from the colonial powers. Of course, we're not truly independent, but we celebrate nonetheless. And I want to wish everyone a happy independence. And this is my country's flag right there, draped right there. All right. The stream is brought to you by L.I.V.E products. L.I.V.E, live now, we're live now. I'm in the kitchen area and I just want to show you some of our products in our product line. We have L.I.V.E nuts. This is the salted version. This is the big version, and that goes for 20 TT dollars. We also have the smaller version. I just bumped my hand against this thing here. And this is the smaller version here. These are L.I.V.E nuts, salted. We also have granolas. We have granola and raisin. And we also have granola, chocolate, and mint. Close the door here. Granola, chocolate, and mint. Really nice, healthy snacks. We do try to be as healthy as possible. We also have our drinks. We have a whole slew of drinks here inside of the refrigerator. Also down below here in the refrigerator. In the independence celebrations yesterday, I was fortunate enough to be there. The sales weren't the hottest. I had to leave as things were really starting to heat up in terms of sales for me. But it is what it is. I'll be going out working today. We also have another refrigerator in the back here. And we also have L.I.V.E products inside of here that remained from last night. Unfortunately, there were some people with me who wanted to go back home. So it kind of messed up my sales. But it's okay. I'm grateful to God to even be able to sell and to have the health and strength to be able to continue doing what I'm doing. So I really worked damn hard to try and get that stuff done, but it is what it is. As you can see, this stream is concerning, again, 1990s basketball, and we're talking about Scotty Pippen and Michael Jordan. They were equals, actually, and people never really saw it that way, but they were equals. There was an understanding between them, and they had different roles to play on that team. And Phil Jackson really made it clear to Michael Jordan that he would not be scoring as much as he usually did because a lot of other people needed to get involved in the game, in the team basketball. And so I want to talk about this in this stream. Scotty, I have so much videos and stuff I'd like to share with you guys, but you guys can check out some of the stuff in the community section of my channel. I know a lot of you are more interested in boxing because it's a boxing channel, but I want to talk a little bit about 90s basketball. RJ Jenkins, what's up, my brother? How are you doing? Don't forget to smash the like button. If you guys though have some boxing related stuff you want to talk to me about, it's fine, but it's kind of like one of those seasons where it's really quiet. So I wanted to discuss a little bit about Scottie Pippen again, and Michael Jordan, and the Chicago Bulls, and the triangle offense too. Thank you very much, RJ Jenkins. And if you want, you can share this stream with other people as we discuss this topic. This is actually I didn't know it, but it's a very highly hot. It's a hot topic right now when it comes to basketball circles. Who's better, Jordan or LeBron, and that kind of thing. And Scottie Pippen comes into the mix. And the reason why I speak so much about Scottie Pippen is because I want to be one of those people to help set the record straight on who Scottie Pippen really was and how important he was to the Bulls and to the other teams he participated in, whether it would be the Rockets or the Blazers. And then he went back, Scottie Pippen, for those of you who don't know, I did a little research and I found out that he actually ended his career as a Chicago Bull. John Paxson brought him back. And Paxton's an awesome guy, actually. John Paxton has a heart of gold. I really love that guy. A real stand-up guy, really, decent guy. Also, a lot of things that I didn't realize was Jerry Krause was brilliant at recruiting. He was really great at getting the right pieces for a team to make them a championship team. And, he doesn't get as much credit. Yes, he was kind of an inflammatory guy and he somewhat treated the players bad and they reciprocated, but, and as if they were just chess pieces on a board and like they didn't really matter. But he was actually a brilliant guy. And he's actually part of the piece of the puzzle of why the Bulls were successful. And he was right. Organizations do win championships. It's not just the players, it's not just the coaches, it's the whole makeup. If your organization can't facilitate the players, the coaches, etc., um, you're not going to win a championship. It's just that simple. So, there's a lot of things that Jerry Krause, did that whether you like him or hate him, you should really give him that respect. And when, people booed, Jerry Krause being mentioned and stuff, and his widow had to hear that. I thought it was distasteful, to be honest with you. Like him or hate him, he was one of the reasons the Bulls were successful and got 6 championships. He's one of the principal reasons because he helped to build that team. Whether he listened to the coaches like Phil Jackson and Doug Collins and the other coach that was before Doug Collins and put the pieces together, he definitely needs the credit for actually listening to them and making it. Even the Horace Grant thing where, he was outvoted. He really wanted another player besides Horace Grant, somebody who, was near and dear to him. And he actually, I mean, they really strong armed him, but he actually listened to them in the end and brought in Horace Grant. And that was the best thing the Bulls could ever have had. Horace Grant and Scotty Pippen were very vital pieces in the Bulls actually winning their first championship because Horace Grant was a tremendous rebounder. Horace Grant out-rebounded almost everyone on that team, both offensively and defensively. R.J. Jenkins says Horace Grant was the final piece to winning their first champions. Yeah, exactly. He was critical. I mean, this guy rebounded everything. The other thing about Horace Grant, I think a lot of people don't realize, and that's why he actually ended up on the LA Lakers as well, and also brought them success, showing how consistent he was and why he was a vital piece was. This guy could finish like nobody's business. I mean, you pass the ball to Horace Grant, you're going to get a bucket. This guy had an unbelievable field goal percentage. His field goal percentage was better than Jordan's. Why he didn't get the rock as much, I don't know. And the way how they ran their offense, Horace was always in a backdoor pick of some kind. So he was always running backdoor, And this guy, I mean, Horace Grant was actually tremendous. When you think about what his game was and what he did as a power forward, this guy, I mean, he did it all when it comes to power forwards. He was really one of the great power forwards you would find. There are a lot of great power forwards, but what I'm just saying is, as a power forward, he was a power forward. He wasn't a small forward now. Pippen was a small forward, right? Pippen was 6'8", I think, 6'7", 6'8". Horace Grant's 6'11", 6'10". So and he had hops. The dude could really jump. So when you think about Horace Grant, one of the reasons the Bulls actually won championships was because Horace Grant, and he was tough. He was strong. You couldn't push around Horace Grant, right? And he could punch. He could box. He could fight. Horace Grant was a guy who, was a big piece. That's why Scottie Pippen says, give me Jordan, give me Horace. Or give me Jordan, give me Dennis. And the thing about Horace Grant, the difference between Horace Grant and Dennis Rodman was Horace Grant gave you 10 to 15 points every game. I mean, you give Horace Grant the rock, he gonna put it in the basket. Horace Grant didn't pass nothing. He was the finisher, and his field goal percentage is higher than Jordan's. So once you get Horace the ball, he's gonna get it in the basket. It don't matter who's in front of him, who's the center, who's the shot blocker. It's very rare I've ever seen Horace Grant's shot blocked. And then he could offensively, he had great offensive rebounds, and defensively, he gave you defensive rebounds. This guy was something else. He was a scoring machine. I understand why Phil Jackson recruited him for the LA Lakers. And if Scottie Pippen wasn't playing with the Portland Trail Blazers, I truly believe Phil Jackson would have recruited Scottie Pippen to be on the LA Lakers with Shaq and Kobe. And that would have been more Arsenal. I mean, we had Eddie, what's his name? Eddie, what was his name? Eddie Jones. Eddie Jones was fantastic. Underrated Laker player. Eddie Jones, T Mac, uh, Penny Hardaway. These guys were fantastic players. You know what I'm saying? And again, T Mac, Eddie Long, Scottie Pippen, Penny Hardaway. They averaged about 17 points a game. But they did so much more than just that. Of course, Scottie Pippen was much more all around than all them guys I just said. But they also majored in defense, and they were the pioneer. Scottie Pippen was the pioneer of, I believe, the point forward, right? Because Scottie used to bring the ball up and distribute the ball. You see, somebody got to distribute the ball, right? Somebody got to distribute the ball. Somebody got to be unselfish, right? Jordan used to play that role in the earlys. I think, the earlys, 84 to 80, I think 88, 89. He was carrying the ball up. He was a point guard, but Jordan couldn't be the point guard. The problem with Jordan as a point guard was he trusted himself mostly. So it was like, even if he passed the ball, bring the ball back into me. I'm going to score the point, right? So Jordan played more of Kobe Bryant, kind of more of a, I'm the guy, I'm carrying this team on my back, give me the ball. At least that was Jordan in the earlys. He became something else, and he evolved later on. Jordan also evolved. A lot of people don't realize. People always talk about, Pippen, he grew up and he got better, and Jordan mentored him. Yes, Pippen listened to Jordan when he came in 80, 87, and they started training together and everything, right? And Pippen grew as a player, yes, of course. But the stuff that Pippen came into the NBA with, he always had. He always shot the three. He was always a great power. He was always a great forward. He could do everything that Jordan could do. His skill set was crazy in terms of offense. Defensively, he improved as a player, and he got more freedom to play, multiple players at one time. You double team a player and then come back to his player. Pippen did that like religiously. This was Pippen's style. It's kind of frenetic, quick footwork style. Jordan didn't have that. And so Pippen playing Jordan all the time, and they playing. Pika TV says salam alaikum, my brother. Alaikum salam. Pika TV says hi. Yes, my brother. I'll say this, that Scottie Pippen, yes, I would say Scottie Pippen in the NBA, he said he was coming in as forward position, but he was going to learn as much as he could. And Jordan gave him as much as he knew, but Scottie Pippen taught Jordan team basketball in a real way. And I'm not saying that Jordan didn't understand team basketball, because Jordan was a captain for North Carolina. Michael Jordan was, he had led teams and all of that. So it's not like he didn't know it, but the way how Michael Jordan played the game, especially when he came into the NBA and he was the major scorer in the game and he was this superstar and everything. And, Doug Collins gave him free reign. Was like, you know what? Give Jordan the ball and get the fuck out of the way. That was Doug Collins' philosophy. But Doug Collins also taught them a lot of things. Jordan taught the players work ethic, discipline. Jordan worked like a fucking beast. So I could see that. And then, of course, Jordan realized that Pippen was the goods, because he had tested our Horace Grant and he tested our Scottie Pippen. And he realized this guy could do a whole set of shit. And so he started training with Scottie, and they would play one-on-one and all of that kind of stuff. And I'm sure that sharpened up Scottie's skills. And Jordan was able to see all kinds of facets of Scottie Pippen's game. And then when they play team ball, of course, Jordan be on one team, Scottie Pippen be on the opposing team, and they push each other. You know what I'm saying? So Scottie's team versus Jordan's team. And Jordan would see Scottie's leadership and how he'd get the players rallied and how he would distribute, Scottie was able to get as many players to get not only a touch on the ball, but also the score. Scotty's approach was different. And Jordan even said it in The Last Dance. He said, Scottie Pippen taught me so much because the way how Scotty plays basketball is different. It's a different approach to how Jordan would naturally play basketball. Jordan would go to a central guy, like, a center, like how basketball was played back in the day with team centers. We go send the ball into the center. The center will either score the ball, kick it back out to you. You shoot three or you shoot mid range. Jordan knew about centric basketball, where one player sort of was the main scorer of the team and kind of carried the team, and everything came off of that basketball player. So Jordan felt like, I'm the key guy for this team. Everything comes off of me. Scottie Pippen showed decentralized basketball. That basketball, how Scotty feels the game should be played, is a movement game. That is to say, we pass the ball. If I pass the ball to another guy, that's faster than me dribbling the ball to try to get to wherever I want to go. So Scotty understood the passing game very, very well. And Scotty always looked for the open shot, the guy who was open, or the guy who's going to be open, because the guy might be running in a play and he's seen the whole play. He's seen how the defense is running. He's seen how the offense is running. In split seconds, he's seen what's evolving, and he knows how to shoot the ball to the guy that needs to get it so he can put it in the bucket. Scotty looked for the high percentage shots in a game, the guy who had the high percentage shot. And he feed that guy the ball. And it didn't have nothing to do with who the guy was, what his shooting percentage was. He can give you a second shot at it, even, because he understood it's about finding the open guy. So Scotty was a different kind of guy. His approach was different to Jordan. He was looking at team dynamics. He was looking at how the team could win. Jordan was looking at how he could win, carrying the team along. That's why you hear all the time Jordan carried the team on his shoulders. Jordan carried the team on his shoulders. Well, that didn't work. It didn't get the Bulls past the first round of the playoffs, right? He tried it for years. Then Scottie Pippen came into the league. And when Scottie came into the league, Jordan learned something else. Scottie Pippen showed you how to get to I think they got to the semifinals, and they bounced up the Chicago Pistons, and the Chicago Pistons kicked them out, but they beat the Cavs first. And Pippen had a big role to play in them beating the Cavs. And that's how Jordan and everybody, Doug Collins, everybody realized Scotty was a different kind of dude. So, yeah, Scotty was under Jordan, I would say, until their first NBA championship win. Because Scotty had his own philosophy of how to play basketball. And I believe it started under Phil Jackson, where Phil Jackson started doing the triangle offense, and Jordan didn't buy into it at all because he couldn't understand how the Bulls was going to win without him scoring the way he was scoring. But Phil Jackson was dogged about it, and they started to believe in the triangle offense. The triangle offense is interesting because it doesn't matter who's carrying the ball down the court. Once you got decent handles, it's about how you pass the ball. So there's about them passing in the form of a triangle. There's always, at any point in time in their offense, there's a triangle formation. That means the guy with the ball has the option to pass to two people. And that option makes it difficult for the defense to read what offensive play they're really doing, because you're moving the ball around. But you're really moving the ball around to get high percentage shots. So it wasn't about Michael Jordan anymore. And so Michael Jordan didn't like that because, he wanted it to be about him and him carrying the team. So Phil Jackson started that off. But it ended up that Scottie Pippen usually was the guy that carried the ball down the court. Sometimes it was B.J. Armstrong. Toni Kukoc wasn't around, and Kerr. Sometimes it was John Paxson. But because John Paxson wasn't really a guy with great handles, he could get picked off. Usually John Paxson, he might move a couple minutes, and then he pass the ball immediately to another player. So you had B.J. sometimes carried down. B.J., of course, being a point guard. He was usually the right wing point guard. Scottie Pippen was the left wing point guard. Well, at least he played point. Let's just put it that way. He wasn't a point guard. He was really a power forward. He was in the front. And the true point guard for that team on the left, I don't think they had one. I think Jordan sometimes was the point guard because he was behind Scottie Pippen. So anyway, the point I'm making is that Yes, Scottie Pippen was under Michael Jordan for a period of time because he was learnable. He was teachable. He wanted to learn. And he kind of was adopting Michael Jordan's sort of way of playing, I think up until 1991. I think things had to change. I think Scotty started really doing Scotty uh, in that championship where they beat the Detroit Pistons. I think before that he was learning off of Jordan. He was doing Jordan moves. He was doing things that Jordan was doing. In 1990, I think he was Scotty, but Scotty was always Scotty. The way how Scotty played the game was different to how Jordan played the game, like I said before. And if you listen to Scottie Pippen, he's going to keep on telling you that I'm glad I played the game how it's supposed to be played. You'll hear Scottie Pippen say that over and over, which when Scottie Pippen explains basketball to you, he says, I don't care about scoring a whole bunch of points. I don't want to be the league's highest scorer. I don't want to be the league's, key defensive player. I don't care about those accolades. I care about the team being the highest scorer. I care about the team being the greatest defensive. And if I'm making that team into a team like that, that's what matters to me. So he believed in decentralized work where the more options you have offensively and the more options you have defensively, that's what wins you championships. And if you look at like the after the Bulls, the Celtics came out on the scene, the Boston Celtics, and they started winning championships. When you think about it, there's no one key player there on that team, that Paul Pierce Celtics team. You had Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, you had Anderson, you had a bunch of guys, but they played as a team, so that there wasn't one particular person. Everybody stepped up and did what they needed to do when there was a gap. And I think that's the kind of basketball. You have to go all the way back to the old Celtics, back in Bill Russell's time. Even Larry Bird and the Celtics, Larry Bird's Celtics played more as a team with Kevin McHale and all these other guys. They played, Robert Parrish and the guy who played for the Suns and stuff. They all played again as a team. They wasn't really trying to get one man to shine. Yeah, one man might stand out, but it was really about team ball and passing the ball around and getting to the open guy. And so, when you think about it that way, that's the way how Pippen, Magic Johnson, Bill Russell, even Larry Bird to some degree, even though he talked mad shit. You look at LeBron James, that's the kind of school of basketball that these guys come from. They play the game as a team sport, so therefore everybody in the team has a role, and everybody in the team needs to be able to put an effort forth as an organic organism to make sure that they score, make sure that they defend properly. That's the way how Scotty understands the game. And Michael Jordan doesn't understand it that way. He more believes in centrist point of view, where you fire it into a center. If you ain't got a center, you got to have some star basketball player that you can rely on to score points. That default operation to go to this guy. If I need to get the game-winning shot, this guy need to score it, and that kind of thing. And Larry Bird was kind of a compromise between the two because, his name rose out of the ashes ahead of all his peers. Or Magic Johnson, his name rose out of the ashes. But when you think about it, these guys still played within the team dynamic. That's the important point. Smash the like button if you're liking what I'm saying. The team dynamic, versus the individual. So they weren't big on the individual stuff. Julius Erving, however, was more of an individual thing, the accolades, the jumping power, the blocks. He kind of shun out more than his team. This is why Julius Erving's Philadelphia 76ers, they probably won one championship, I think. If Julius Erving was more, but he stood out, and he tried to play team basketball. You have to understand the strengths of your different players instead of berating them. Find out what they're good at, and then now you want to inspire them, encourage them, and push them to be better, not only at the things they're good at, but to strengthen the things they're not so good at, so that at the end of their career they're better at. But so that's how Scottie Pippen's approach is. That's why Scottie Pippen said what he said about Michael Jordan. He said when Michael Jordan came into the league, he was a horrible player. He played bad basketball. What he really meant by that is he wasn't passing the ball as much. He always had a centric sort of point of view of how basketball should be played. He's the main guy, and dark colors sort of enable that. And it's just a different way of playing basketball. Okay. And it really didn't reap him a tremendous amount of rewards in terms of the team. He was able to get the team to the playoffs, but no further. They got licked out every single year. So he did help improve the team to some point. He got the team to the point where they were making the playoffs. This is a team that was dead last in the league, and it was brought back. And then of course, Jerry Krause, he started adding new people to the team, so the team started to change up as he was building the team around Michael. And then in '87, Scotty Pippen and Horace Grant came, and they moved a little further. They moved to the semifinals. They got to the semifinals because of Scotty Pippen and Horace Grant. And then they met the Detroit Pistons, and the Detroit Pistons beat their ass. But the point is that they moved further with Scottie Pippen and Horace Grant. So, and then their averages, how their regular season started to improve. But I think they really went to the next level when Phil Jackson came on. Phil Collins was removed, Phil Jackson, and Jerry Krause said he may had to end the franchise if they don't get a championship within a certain space of time. I believe Phil Jackson came on the scene in 1987. He replaced Phil Collins in 1989 or 1990. I think it was 1990. And Phil Jackson said this to Jerry Krause. He said, "If I can't deliver a championship to you within 2 years, don't pay me a dime. And I'm gonna pay you some money. I'm gonna pay you $50,000." So he was on a timeline. So he changed up some things. He made Michael change his view on how offense was needed to be done. And he brought in Scottie Pippen as the point guard, or the guy who was playing point, bringing the ball up the floor. Even though BJ did it, like I said, Paxson, sometimes a sub in, like some sub of some kind, would move it up the floor. But usually the guys who moved it up the floor from one half court to the next, usually they passed it to Pippen anyway. Pippen was like the main guy. So Jordan was freed up now to score and play defense. And what happened was Jordan wasn't scoring as much, of course, and the rest of the team started scoring more. And I believe Pippen at that point in time, I think in 1990, I think they got all the way up to the finals, almost beat the Pistons. And of course, we know, they talk about the infamous headache that Scottie Pippen had. But the truth is, he did have a blistering headache. That's what it is. I mean, the guy couldn't play the game as he wanted to play the game. And they were not able to beat the Pistons that year. But the following year, they did beat the Pistons. They got more confident in the triangle defense. Scottie Pippen came into his own. He wasn't trying to follow Michael Jordan no more. There was no Batman and Robin. Now there was Superman and Batman. To put it in perspective, the guys became equals. Jordan respected Scottie Pippen. And Scottie Pippen said, "Hey, we got to win this game different." And Scottie Pippen was the deciding factor the second time around, because at the time, the Pistons, according to John Solly, they felt once they shut down Jordan, they shut down the offense of the Bulls. And Jordan didn't have full confidence even in the triangle offense. He didn't have it. And I think Jordan at all that time, I think he was leading the leagues in steals and in blocks and in scoring and in I think he had become MVP. I think he had become MVP a couple times. But as he allowed the team to do what they do, and Pippen decided, hey, we need to do a different approach as well. And Pippen became one of the team captains because of that. I think that changed the trajectory of everything. And the triangle offense really became something that Tex Winter, it was like it purred like a beautiful purring engine. And so that's why they blew out the Pistons in 1991, because that triangle offense was working so well. And then Pippen started he took it up. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, Pippen in the playoffs in 1991, some of his stats was ridiculous. Like he led the league in rebounds a certain time. Not the league, sorry. He led in the playoffs in rebounds. He was out rebounding Horace Grant on the defensive end. He outblocked Jordan when it comes to blocking people. He was stealing more than I think Michael during the 1991 season, the 1991 playoffs. I think his steals were higher than Jordan. Jordan had high steals, but I think in certain games, at least, I remember, he played the most amount of minutes. He became a guy that he came from off the bench in '87 to becoming one of the starters. I think they had him start in 1989 or something there, and he was one of the starting guys. Or 1987, 1988. I can't remember which year it was. He went on from bench to starter fast. Paxson went to the bench. He became reserve as his minutes were reduced, I think because of injury, and BJ became a starter. So BJ Armstrong, he rose out of the ashes. I think BJ, Horace Grant, BJ came the year after. I can't remember, but they came. BJ, Pippen, and Grant. They came around the same time, and Horace Grant was the major rebounder for the team. And then Pippen in '91, especially against the Pistons, I think he out rebounded Grant. It's crazy. Grant also numbers went up. Grant started off, Pippen and Grant, they had limited time when they were off the bench, so they had low numbers. But Grant scored in one of the games, I think, I don't know if it was against the Lakers or whatever, Grant scored the same amount of points as Pippen. I think Pippen had 18, and I think Grant had 18 or 19 or something like that. BJ had 10 or 11. And the other guy, Bill Cartwright, the center, the makeshift center, Bill Cartwright, I think he had like 14 points or something like that. So they really were doing great. To Jordan's, I think Jordan had like 20-something points. And I remember one of the games, actually, Pippen outscored Michael Jordan, which is crazy. In addition to all the things he was doing, right, for the team. But then again, the thing about Pippen and Jordan, which I think a lot of people misunderstand, everybody always credits Pippen for shutting down Magic Johnson, getting him out of his rhythm, getting him out of his game, because Jordan couldn't do it. But y'all got to remember, in the regular season, Pippen couldn't shut down Grant. What's his name? Just now, it'll come to me. The Piston guy. This was in 1995, 1996. Y'all know who I'm talking about? RJ Jenkins says a lot of people forgot that Grant was a twin. Yeah. It was Horace and Harvey. Harvey Grant and Horace Grant. Yeah. Harvey used to play for, I think it was the Blazers. And then Harvey was playing on some other team. I can't remember what other team. Yeah, they were twin. But what I wanted to say was that what was I saying? Yeah. Oh, Grant Hill. Yeah. Pippen had problems guarding Grant Hill. And Jordan locked down Grant Hill. Well, he didn't do it by himself. Pippen and Jordan double team him. Pippen and Jordan was known as the Dobermans, because they would come after your ass. And sometimes they would decide. Mark Land said Kukoc in 1998 was as important as Pippen. Nah. Never confuse Kukoc with Pippen, my friend. Kukoc was a hell of a player. But it always revolved around Pippen. Yeah. In fact, Kukoc never outscored Pippen in any game. Think about that. And Kukoc was a hell of a player. Play defense, play offense. But I'm telling you why Pippen, even though Pippen started to fade and he wasn't scoring as much and he wasn't doing certain things as much, Kukoc was a hell of a player, though. Hell of a player. But Pippen, Pippen was the team captain. He used to call the plays and stuff. Kukoc didn't call plays, or he didn't execute the plays that. That just fell down outside. He didn't execute the plays. No, he was not as important as Pippen. I'm sorry about that. I cannot agree with that. You know how I know this? Remember. After 1998, we had 1999. People who stayed back after the Bulls was done we had Ron Harper, who stayed back on the team. We had Kukoc. We had Steve Kerr. Luke Longley, I think, was still there. Bushler was still there. Most of the team was still there. The only people who wasn't there was Pippen, Jordan, and Rodman. They were the only ones that were not on that Bulls team. And the Bulls team ended up dead last. They ended up dead last. Once those guys were gone, those three key players were gone from the team wasn't doing shit. Kukoc was still there. If he was as important as Pippen, when Pippen left, when Jordan left, and when Rodman left, they would have filled in the void. Because remember, Kukoc could do some of the things that Pippen did. Steve Kerr was still there to blaze up threes. Bushler was still there to blaze up threes. Randy Brown was still there to play defense. Harper was still there and could play defense, right? You had Luke Longley, who was the center. He was still there, right? So basically the elements for them to still do what they do on the team was still there. Kukoc had more offensive numbers because he had more responsibility, and he put up higher points. He still didn't reach the points that Pippen made, but understandably, he had the responsibility, so he had to put up them points. And there was another guy that came in on the team who was scoring quite a lot too. I'm trying to remember who the guy's name is. It was a new guy, came across on the team, and he was scoring like he was lighting it up. I'm trying to remember who that guy was because he ends up on another team. I don't even know if the guy that was on that team, he ended up getting a championship later on. But that team ended up dead last. And that tell you everything you need to know. Because when Jordan, who's a key member of the Bulls, left the Bulls in 1993, the Bulls didn't collapse. Now, I forgot something. I forgot a very key person who also left. This is a key person. Phil Jackson left. So you had Jordan, Pippen, Rodman, and Phil Jackson. I mean, come on now. That was I think that was too much. And they had a new coach. And I don't know if the coach was under Phil Jackson, but that was a lot, to be honest with you. Because those guys, I mean, Pippen and Jordan combined night after night gave you something like 50-something, 60-something points every fucking night, right? Then Rodman was getting everything on the boards. There was nothing. Rodman would give you like 19 rebounds, 18 rebounds. That's some ridiculous numbers, right? Because, even when Horace Grant was there, he'd give you like 10, 8. Those were exceptional. Rodman was giving you like fucking 15 and 16 fucking rebounds. This guy was like fucking rebounding machine. You know what I'm saying? Whereas, Pippen will always give you like anything between 15 to 27 points a night. Jordan give you anything between 28 and 35 points a night. You know what I'm saying? So, those guys in combination. And then the aggressive nature of their defense, the aggressive way Pippen played defense, the aggressive way. Now, they both play defense differently. Pippen and Jordan complemented each other, but they played defense totally different. Pippen wasn't a guy to just mark one guy. He's always looking at the defense, reading the defense so he can intercept plays and catalyze steals. Pippen was a guy that he wasn't thinking one-on-one, man-on-man, like Jordan would play man-on-man. Pippen's always looking at intercepting lanes, how the offense is coming, so he could pick off a shot. And then Pippen was long, he was quick, he could leap like Jordan. This motherfucker could leap like Jordan. Did you guys even see? Do you know that Pippen did the free throw dunk just like Michael Jordan, and he casually did it, but his dunk was different. When Jordan dunks, he pumps the ball back this way and then he slams it, right? Pippen takes the ball up high like a Statue of Liberty dunk. So he would take the ball up high, leap in the air, and then slam it down, right? And between the two of them, of course, obviously Pippen was the stronger of the two. And when Pippen was weight training, he was weight training with 110-pound weights in either hand, whereas Jordan was doing like, I think he was doing like 45 to 60-pound weights in either. But they built differently and everything, right? But when you think about Scottie Pippen, He was bigger. He was stronger than Michael Jordan. He dunked harder. His dunks were nastier, right? But Pippen really didn't relish the offense. He relished the defense. And everybody says it, and we say it to this day, Jordan was the offensive master. Pippen was the defensive master. He had Jordan's back. Mark Lynn says, I get your point. Kukoc was done with back problems in 99. I mean, yes, I know Pippen was higher in the hierarchy, but remember Kukoc in 98 against Indiana in that playoffs. Oh, no. I'm not trivializing Kukoc in any way. Okay, that motherfucker used to do game-winning shots, and, he's willing to take the ball and do whatever, but the guy who had to give him the ball usually was Pippen. And that's what you're not understanding. It's not about the scoring thing for me. It's about who's directing the play, who's setting up the guys to get the shots. Kukoc was still a feeder to Pippen. Don't get me wrong. Kukoc also used to send things to Pippen as well, because Pippen at certain points in time, he'd be a forward. Like, Pippen's a weird kind of guy. Pippen was a guy who he would play point, distribute the ball, but at other times in the triangle offense, he'd be playing forward. And he's collecting the ball, right? But the difference between Pippen and Kukoc, the difference between Pippen and Jordan, Pippen has a clear shot at the basket. Or he's doing a play. He's about to lay up. He could lay up the ball into the basket. But you know what Pippen would do? Pippen, instead of laying up that ball, he'd pass that ball to the other wingman and let him get the dunk. Why? Pippen wanted you to feel the scoring. He wanted you to score. He wanted you to get the confidence to score. So Pippen's a guy, he could kill it. I saw Pippen put down 47 points. 47 fucking points on the Denver Nuggets. 47 points. He outscored Jordan. Jordan scored, I think, was 39. That motherfucker is a beast. If he wanted to score, you couldn't stop Pippen from scoring. But that's not his role. Pippen's role was a facilitator, a defensive wizard. That's what Pippen was. And he wanted to see the entire team grow. Let me show you the difference between Pippen and Jordan. Pippen would send a shot to a guy like Luke Longley, for example. Luke Longley in the center. Luke Longley slashes to the basket, puts up the shot, misses, right? The other team gets the rebound. They on a steal. Luke Longley's trying to come back into defense. The moment that Luke Longley gets a moment to rest, Luke Longley might be slapping himself like, Jordan's coming down on his ears. How the fuck did you miss that play? Man, you better make that shot next time, right? Pippen would come behind Longley and slap him on the wrist and say, don't worry about that. I'm going to give you the ball next time. Redeem yourself. You just focus on the play we have at hand. Pippen was different. Pippen's not going to berate a guy for missing a shot. That happens in basketball. You make the shot next time, that's all. Right? You focus in, you dial in, and guess what? Pippen will send that ball right back into Luke Longley. And he redeems himself. Right? The point is, Toni Kukoc will want the ball more than give the ball. Pippen's a different kind of guy. Pippen reminds me of Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson made his team better. He inspired his team. He would pass that ball. He's not going to keep the ball. When I get the ball, Pippen's a guy like this. If he gets the ball, he's going to pass the ball. That's what y'all miss about LeBron James. LeBron James has the same mindset as Scotty Pippen. Scotty Pippen don't care about being clutch and trying to get the game-winning play every game. No, motherfucker. If another guy's free right there, why am I taking the shot? It builds his confidence for the next game. I can make the shot. Now, there was a time when Pippen was angry with Phil Jackson for giving Toni Kukoc the game-winning shot. Pippen knew why he said to Phil Jackson, I want the shot this time. Give me the shot this time. Phil Jackson ignored him and gave Toni Kukoc. Yes, the ball scored. Toni Kukoc scored the ball, but Pippen wanted to send a statement to that team. He also wanted his team to know, I'm your leader. Pippen was specifically demanding, and Phil Jackson still ignored him. Whereas if Michael Jordan demanded that thing, he was going to get it. But Pippen had a different reason. He didn't just want the ball because he wanted the ball. He not really trying to be a baller. And he should have proven himself by that point in time. And that's why he had an issue with Phil Jackson. He said Phil Jackson is racist. He was saying that Phil Jackson probably is not a racist. But I get what Phil Jackson was trying to do. He was trying to boost up Toni Kukoc to keep Toni Kukoc on the road. But he overlooked what Pippen was really trying to do. And there's things that, they're critical points in time where a leader is trying to show you something. He's trying to send a message to the opposite team. And that was, I think, when Pippen was leading the Bulls. And Phil Jackson overruled Pippen on what Pippen's the leader of the fucking Bulls. Pippen say, I need to get that last shot for a reason. I demand that last shot for a reason. I'm going to send a message to my enemies. And two, I want to show these guys that I'm the leader and they can follow me. They can trust me because I'm going to kill it myself. I'm going to do this myself. So, I can do this too. I can finish the game like this. And Phil Jackson took that from him. And that's why he was mad. And that's why he sat out. And, I see his perspective. I see Pippen's perspective. Phil Jackson was so much into what works, he overlooked the fact that this guy is leading the team. And this guy knows what he's doing. He knows why he wants that shot. Mark Lynn says, yes, I agree. I was maybe overboard with the statement, but Kukoc still underappreciated, I think, by many fans today. Don't know. Kukoc was a phenomenal player. Let me explain to y'all. And that's, the acquisition of Toni Kukoc to the Bulls really helped the Bulls in a big way because Toni Kukoc wasn't just a scorer. Toni Kukoc was a great defender as well. The guys that they recruited, Ron Harper, Toni Kukoc, these guys were excellent defenders. They weren't just scorers. And again, people say, well, Toni only scored 17, 18 points or whatever. It's because he's doing a lot of other things. Basketball ain't just scoring. Right? Michael Jordan had a lot more luxuries as a star player, and everybody's attention was focused on Michael Jordan and the fact that he scored the most points. But it was engineered that way. He was playing a role. You see what I'm saying? John Weaver says that's a fact. John Weaver says, fight night closer and closer. That's with Canelo versus Terrence Crawford. Mark Land says, do you think Jordan is the best player of all time? Again, when you talk about best player of all time, what are you saying? Because Jordan played a certain position. Right? He was a point. He's a point guard. So you have to think about that. Sometimes he played small forward. He slashed to the rim as a small forward. So, Michael Jordan was he was fantastic. You know what I mean? But I prefer to talk about not best player of all time. I prefer to talk about best team of all time. And you would never really see Michael Jordan talking about, I'm the greatest player of all time. You never hear him say that. Because he doesn't think there's any value in that, to be honest with you. That he grew as a player. Maybe back in the day he would have said that, but he, like Scotty Pippen, he learned things from Scotty Pippen and Phil Jackson. He learned this is a team sport. This is not individual sport. Was he a very important player to the Bulls? Abso-fucking-lutely, right? The Bulls never won a championship without him. Was Scotty Pippen a very important player for the Bulls? Absolutely. The Bulls never won a championship without Scottie Pippen. Everybody else, they weren't there. You didn't have Toni Kukoc when they had the first three-peat. You didn't have Steve Kerr when they had the first three-peat. You didn't have Luke Longley when they had the first three-peat. You didn't have Dennis Rodman when they had the first three-peat. Mr. Parrish, John Sally, Duron Harper. So clearly, just based on facts, Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen were the most important players on that team that allowed for the Bulls' success. At no point in time did the Bulls, when they were successful and won championships, not have Scottie Pippen or Michael Jordan. These are facts. Okay? So those two are also probably the most successful duo in basketball history, right? And the thing about them is it's not like Paxson and Malone. Stockton and Malone. Malone was the mailman. Stockton was the delivery guy, right? Stockton would deliver the mail. Stockton was like the post office, and and Malone was like the mailman. And they were very successful. I mean, they should have won world title. If the Bulls weren't there, they would have won. They would have won an NBA championship. The Bulls stopped them twice, and they were forced to reckon with. They beat L.A. everybody. They were beating everybody, and they were forced to reckon with. But that combination of Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen, those two guys, and of course Horace Grant and B.J. Armstrong, John fucking Paxson. John Paxson was a beast. He was talk about clutch. Paxson was clutch. More clutch than Steve Kerr. But he got old, the knees and stuff, and he had to come out the game. But that motherfucker was clutch. Right? With the three, cold. That ninja was cold. Right? B.J. Armstrong was cold with the three as well. But not as cold as Paxson. Paxson was cold. Right? I forgot this guy. What's his name? I think it's Jason Williams. Jason Williams was a great center as well. Yeah, Jason Williams, Stacey King. I'm gonna say this. Mark Land says, yes, heard many times that teammates felt more comfortable with Pippen. Because Pippen played more team basketball. And he always fed them the ball. They always got the ball to score. So the team, of course, anybody's going to love Pippen. All of them going to love Pippen because Pippen always give you the ball. It wasn't just Jordan. So, yeah, they love Pippen more than Jordan. That kind of goes without saying. Jordan was a guy that was more critical of the players because he wanted them to get the fine details. So when you combine Pippen, it kind of almost like good cop, bad cop. Jordan wasn't liked so much by it. Now, some people loved him because he challenged them and they stepped up their game, but, he also punched guys. He got in your face. He talked mad trash talk. Jordan would talk mad trash. But again, Jordan wasn't a bad guy. Like everybody trying to make him out to be, and stuff. No. Jordan was a guy that was very passionate about the game of basketball. And he pushed himself so hard. He expected people to do the same. And it kind of pushed the Bulls. They didn't exactly like him all the time. He was a likable guy, though. Jordan was a likable guy, but he just was tough on his teammates. He was real tough on them because he understood if I could be tough on them now, all the opposition is going to be a piece of cake, So he made it hot in there. And Pippen was the guy that sort of stabilized it. So, yeah, of course, the teammates are going to love Pippen more because he would soften it up. But Pippen and Jordan, they knew what they were doing. They discussed it already. Now, there are certain people Michael Jordan didn't come down hard on like that. BJ was in the, Jordan came hard at him, in practice and stuff. But Jordan really never had nothing really bad to say about BJ because BJ come from the streets. If you ever played street ball, you know how people are. You know how nasty people can get, right? It can come to blows. People can shoot each other, stuff like that. So Jordan was kind of he was kind of doing the street ball on you. He could come from the street ball approach. Scottie Pippen, though, while Scottie Pippen was very familiar with street ball and the street ball approach of coming at a guy, going for his throat. He more wanted to see the players develop. So that combination of Pippen's empathy and encouragement and Jordan's just tough knocks, hard knocks, come in your face, tell you the truth, try to destroy you attitude is what got them where they were. Pippen and Jordan were the perfect combination. And they come from two different ideologies. So when Pippen goes in on Jordan, like, Jordan, played selfish basketball, ball hog, and Pippen going on Jordan, he is a trash when it comes to, being a team player. He could afford to say that. And y'all might come in hard on Pippen, but that's his perspective because he saw basketball a certain way, And you don't really hear Michael Jordan trashing Pippen. But if Jordan was to get up and say, but Pippen, sometimes, man, the dude passed the ball too much. You need to just do this clear shot. I don't know why he wasn't trying to be clutch. Why was he had all the ability, all the skill. If Jordan was going on Pippen like that, again, I can't be mad at Jordan because that's the way how he played the game. So it's how you play the game and the philosophy. If you have a centrist philosophy or decentralized philosophy, a team sport kind of philosophy of playing basketball, they came from different perspectives. You cannot look at Michael Jordan and be mad at him for being himself. And you couldn't look at Scottie Pippen, and this is the problem. People take different camps and berate Scottie Pippen. Pippen was a fucking beast. Don't get it twisted, man. He was a beast. But he played the game in a different way to Michael Jordan played the game. And yet they complemented each other so well and they understood each other so well. And trust me, Michael Jordan learned a lot from Scottie Pippen. And obviously, Scottie Pippen learned a lot from Michael Jordan. So that's why I said to you, and I say to you, even though they had different philosophies of playing the game, and Pippen prefers what LeBron is doing today to the way how Michael Jordan played the game, Pippen will always tell you, and obviously, he would pick Michael Jordan over LeBron James any day of the week to play with him. Why? The evidence is there, ladies and gentlemen. 6 championships. He's not going to pick somebody he never played with over somebody who he played with. This is just common sense. When Scottie Pippen says that in terms of the aggressiveness and the in-your-facedness of Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, LeBron James is nowhere in the picture when it comes to that. He's 100% correct because Scottie Pippen is nowhere in that picture either. Because LeBron and Scottie Pippen believe in team basketball. They don't believe in individual basketball. They don't believe in having to destroy, even though they have different ways of trying to destroy the other team. Let's say their tactics wasn't to go head on the other team. No, I'm gonna bring my team to your team. I'm not gonna do no one-on-one. Would Kobe and Jordan probably destroy LeBron James in a one-on-one showdown? Probably. I'm sure Jordan destroyed Scottie Pippen numerous times in one-on-one playdowns, and Scottie Pippen refined his game, and then Jordan couldn't just drive to the basket anyhow how he wanted to with Scottie Pippen. But it's a team. When you are able to steer a guy into another guy, into your defense, into another guy's body, so he can't go further. These are the tricks that Scottie Pippen would do. You see, Scottie Pippen was a guy who would cause. They say he's the catalyst for like the offense or the defense. Scottie Pippen would steer a player into or near to Michael Jordan so he could swat away the ball behind the guy's back, trigger that fast-paced run. Scottie be sprinting down the field along with guys like BJ, Scottie Pippen, Horace Grant. They take off down the field after Jordan steal that ball. Or, Pippen steals the ball, or Grant steals the ball. Or somebody in between. BJ steals the ball because Pippen drove the guy into the defense. See, you have to understand what Pippen be doing. Should Pippen be playing chess? They be playing checkers. The guy who actually does the steal may not be the guy that actually set up the whole thing. And that's what Pippen was. He was a guy that set up plays. He set up things. So he didn't think like the average guy. He was thinking several moves down the road. You understand? He was playing chess, right? And that's what made Pippen's game so attractive to guys like Kobe Bryant, to guys like LeBron James, to guys like T-Mac. They understood Pippen was playing a whole other level of game. And Jordan used to do that too, but he would do it more. Jordan read the defense and offense as well. But Jordan would handle individual guys. He would double team with Scottie Pippen, but he wasn't the one necessarily like leading the guy into the defense. Like he wouldn't do that. See, because Pippen was mostly the point. He took over point. So Pippen was the guy you give the ball, and then Pippen would set the plays. So that's the thing. So Pippen saw the game in a bigger way. Shout out to Mark Land. Masturbate. Arithmetism says Pippen was too busy pimping. Ruben says, "What's up, Eddie Murphy?" Good God, me and Eddie Murphy look so different, man. We just two different people, bro. I know you're trying to say I'm a comedian. I'm not even a comedian either. Eddie Murphy was a tremendous comedian. We are not the same. We're not the same in any way. Mark Land says, "Gotta go. Thanks for the chat. Be back other time." All right, my dude, Mark Land. Shout out to you guys, man, for being in the chat and talking. Don't forget you can smash the like button if you like this topic. So I hate when people say that Scottie Pippen was a sidekick to Michael Jordan. He wasn't a sidekick. He wasn't just support. This guy was actively initiating plays and setting up plays, and he was the feeder for Michael Jordan to get the score and stuff. He wasn't just a facilitator. He was more than that. And then he was the defensive background. Plus, he himself scored. So you have to look at that and understand what Scottie Pippen brought to the team. And he was a team captain along with Michael Jordan. We had the unofficial senior team captain, Bill Cartwright. So in the first three-peat, you're talking about Bill Cartwright, Michael Jordan, and Scottie Pippen. In the second three-peat, we still had Bill there. Bill was the center there. Up to, I think Bill was there until probably 96. I think after they won their first of the second three-peat championship, I think Bill left. So Bill was there all along. Dennis Rodman came on. He was like the rebounding leader. So he was like a captain in that respect, and Ron Harper. So they had four captains. I don't think Ron came the same time with Bill Cartwright. They had four captains. And then they had four again when Ron Harper replaced Bill Cartwright. So you had Ron Harper, Dennis Rodman, Scottie Pippen, and Michael Jordan. And if you look in the post-game conferences, you would see Scottie Pippen take the mic, Michael Jordan take the mic, Ron Harper take the mic, or Dennis Rodman. And they interviewed those four. Was never Toni. Toni never took the mic because Toni was a great player, but he wasn't one of the leaders. He wasn't a guy that was specialized in a specialized area and therefore would comment on it. Ron Harper, for the defense, particularly, tremendous defensive player, and he was a leader in that. Like, he taught defense. Like, they would, when they're running plays in practice and stuff, Ron Harper's like the go-to guy. So you had Harps, who Jordan really liked Harper, because Harper, again, seasoned player, understood what his role was, understood what he needed to do. So Jordan didn't have no issues with Harper. There was Pippen. Then it was Rodman. Again, Jordan had no issues with Rodman. I mean, NBA championships and stuff. When Michael tried to say anything to Robert Parrish, he respected Robert Parrish. He respected John Sally. He respected Edwards from the Pistons. These guys had already been there, done that. Parrish with the Celtics. So. Jordan had respect for those guys. He had no respect for Will Perdue. But Will Perdue was, again, very good for defense. Not the best scorer in the world. Yes, when he gets his chance and opportunities to score. Perdue took a lot of, flack from Jordan. And Perdue really sometimes didn't deserve it. But that was Michael Jordan, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I would say that in terms of the Chicago Bulls, very important players with the Chicago Bulls that determined their success, Pippen, Jordan, and then you also had Harps, Rodman, Grant, Horace Grant, B.J. Armstrong, Bill Cartwright, um, Toni Kukoc, Steve Kerr, Jed Bushler. Like, these are all very important people I'm speaking about. Randy Brown for defense. You know, that's why I said it's team sport. It's a team sport. You know, you may have team leaders, you may have team captains, and then of course you have the head coach, and then you have the assistant coaches. It's a team sport. And I think a lot of people think, I listen to people try to belittle Scottie Pippen, and they didn't realize how good this guy was. Like, this guy, Scottie Pippen, okay, so yeah, okay, he had a bad experience with the Rockets, right? And he even called back Barkley your fat ass, right? Because Barkley wasn't training with him. Again, different schools of thought. Charles Barkley watched Julius Erving and all these guys, and they wasn't training relentlessly in there after their primes was over and their senior guys. They let the younger players who have energy do that. So Barkley had a different way of getting his mind and his frame conditioned to play the game. And Pippen wanted Barkley to, train with him and be rigorous in his training. And Pippen always felt like Barkley was slouching, like he was lazy. But Barkley still put up his numbers. Barkley still performed in the games. He was just a senior member, and he was trying to take like a more of a back seat. And Barkley was disappointed when Pippen left the Rockets. He was like, man, what are you doing that for, man? I thought we had a good thing here. And because Pippen didn't like how Barkley's work ethic was. But Barkley was a senior member. He ain't going to stress himself out like that. And they're still putting up his numbers. So I think Pippen just didn't understand that because, he always been that way, was with Jordan, that was the regiment, so, he couldn't understand that. And so that's where Pippen was coming from. Again, I'm not mad at Pippen. I'm not mad at Barkley, because I understood they saw different examples and different approaches of how to go about doing the game. But Pippen, I think, with the Portland Trailblazers, he had a bunch of injuries, as we all know. But he was responsible for Janelle Mobley and a lot of younger players, influencing them and teaching them the game of basketball, always open to listening to you and trying to encourage you. That's the thing with Pippen. And he got, a guy off the bench that probably wouldn't have played otherwise. And a lot of different people, really loved Pippen for that. Pippen was a cultivator. He's kind of like a teacher of his way of playing basketball. And, if you look at basketball today and how the NBA is, it's more of the game that Pippen likes. It's more of the game that Pippen represented. And that's because all of these players were influenced by Scottie Pippen. A lot of people say be like Jordan, but a lot of players, I'm not talking about the average person on the streets. Most of the players emulated Scottie Pippen. That's why you got a lot of point forwards today, and Scottie Pippen has been a big influence on the sport of basketball. A lot of people love this play. Unfortunately, he never got the shine that he deserved. He's so underrated when it comes to that. And, a lot of people throw cheap shots at him all the time when he says something that's true. Shaq tried to throw cheap shots at him, talking about you are under me, as if, Pippen's like under anybody. The man's a fucking legend. He's never been under Jordan. Well, he's been under Jordan, 87 to 90 maybe. But, he's never been under anybody since after, he and Jordan are equals. So for Shaq to say that, and you remember Pippen with the Bulls, Orlando beat them in 95, even with Jordan on the team. But then after that, 96 and onwards, Shaq was no issue. And yeah, Shaq beat the Portland Trailblazers when they meted up with Pippen on the team. Yeah, they did beat him. But Shaq never even had the work ethic of a Scottie Pippen. Who is Shaq to tell Scottie Pippen you are under me? Bruh, please, just spare me the nonsense. Scottie Pippen blocked your shots. He blocked you, right? Yeah, your team won. Your team won. But even old ass Scottie Pippen at 35 years of age was giving you the biz. Who's Shaq to tell Scottie Pippen, you under me, you can't tell me nothing. Michael Jordan was the marquee player. Who was you? They draft Michael. And like, Shaq, shut the fuck up, bro. Really, know your place. Have some respect. You're talking to a GOAT. Who the fuck are you? And you done finished playing. And Scottie Pippen, they knew how to handle your ass. And you couldn't shoot a free throw for your life. Like, please. Scottie Pippen is so much better an all-round player than you are. So stop it. Plus, you played with Scotty in the All-Star games. You know he's good. So if he's telling you he has 6 rings and you have but 4 or 5 or whatever you have, why are you trying to answer that? Right? Oh, you was playing second fiddle to Michael Jordan. Well, guess what? You played with 2 supporting players for you, Kobe and D. Wade. If there was no D. Wade and there was no Kobe Bryant, you wasn't getting no damn rings. Not like that. And you only had 4. Kobe has 5 with his own team. Pippen has 6. Right? They're doing like Shaq's doing like he did it all by himself. You know what I mean? He didn't have the responsibilities that Scottie Pippen. I don't understand. Like when we talking basketball, Scottie Pippen did so much more things than Shaquille O'Neal did. And I'm not trying to knock Shaquille O'Neal, but I'm just saying, Shaquille O'Neal don't play no perimeter defense. He the center. He get the ball in. He shot block. He tried to shot block and protect the center area, right? Didn't stop him from the Bulls mowing over them and beating their ass. And they had Penny Hardaway, and Penny Hardaway was a hell of a player. Again, ball player, ball maker, right? You wouldn't disrespect Penny Hardaway. What the fuck you trying to disrespect Scottie Pippen for? Are you crazy? Are you crazy, man? Penny was a great player, but he won Scottie Pippen. Penny wasn't Scottie Pippen. Penny didn't play that kind of defense that Scottie Pippen played. He didn't even put up the points that Scottie Pippen used to put up. Come on, man. You need to stop disrespecting people that are better than you, right? And the proof is in the pudding. So when I heard Shaquille O'Neal trying to clap back at Scottie Pippen, I'm like, you serious, bro? Bro, Scottie is your senior, first of all. Second of all, you got rings because of D. Wade. D. Wade and Kobe Bryant. You couldn't get no rings without D. Wade and Kobe Bryant. And you only got 4. You should have gotten way more than that. But your work ethic kept you back from getting more. And he was a hell of a player. But who is you to talk about Scottie Pippen? The disrespect that I see these guys trying to throw at Scottie. I understand Isaiah Thomas saying at the time that Scottie Pippen didn't want him on the team. Like, who give a fuck? Because Scottie Pippen was nobody in 1991. I think he became an all-star. Sorry, my bad. Let me revise that. In 1992, Scottie Pippen was an all-star. But if Scottie Pippen said, I ain't playing on the team if Isaiah Thomas wasn't on the team, like, who give a fuck? Then don't play then. And just have Isaiah there. Isaiah had years. He was a legend in the sport, But Jordan was a legend in the sport. Magic Johnson was a legend. Larry Bird was a legend in the sport. So obviously, if they didn't play, they had to listen. But, like Isaiah saying, well, who the hell is Scottie Pippen? Scottie Pippen now. If Scottie Pippen was to say, I ain't playing anything now, well, yeah, it would be different. But, so Isaiah has a point there. Who are you? I don't care about your opinion. You know what I mean? Know your place, homie. Homie, in 1991, you didn't move the needle, You know what I mean? They Scottie Pippen don't want to play. Fine, we replace him with Isaiah. It's not a big deal. That makes sense, people. You know what I'm saying? So, but Scottie Pippen and, Isaiah Thomas was, again, another just fucking phenomenal player, man. Handles, finishing touch, pass the ball. You have to pass the fucking ball. Unselfish. You got to be unselfish. And that was the dude. Dumars was like the Michael Jordan of the team when it comes to crushing you with threes. Send it off to Dumars. Kill it. Right? Very competent player. Very good in defense. Joe Dumars. You know, they call Gary Payton the glove, but Joe Dumars was the glove for the Detroit Pistons, man. Dennis Rodman was like the backbone. Defensively, rebounding, blocking shots, making guys uncomfortable, playing the center, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, I just think that you know, I know it's just shit talk, but still, nonetheless, Charles Barkley talking about Scottie Pippen disrespecting Michael Jordan. Come on now, Charles. Come on now, Charles. You know better than that. You know? Yeah, Mike's great. Scotty can say whatever the fuck he wants. Okay? Even if it's bullshit and it ain't true. He can say whatever he wants. He played with this guy his whole career. So whatever he feels like saying, he can say. He knows Michael Jordan better than you do when it comes to playing. You know? So Charles Barkley, really, again, I listen to these guys talk. You know, I don't know if Charles trying to win back favor with Michael Jordan or whatever, because Charles Barkley said, he said it. I didn't say it. He said that Michael Jordan was the guy that didn't want Isaiah on the team. And from my understanding of that's true. On the Olympic team, that is, the dream team, they call it. From my understanding, that's true. He didn't want, you know, he had influence in Isaiah not getting on the team. And apparently Magic and Larry Bird didn't want him on there too. But I'll say this. If you say he's so difficult to play with, and this is just my point, what the fuck are you playing with him in an all-star game? And he's feeding you the ball, Michael. He fed you the ball in 87, 88, 89, 90, 91. It's just a fucking game. You can't have an issue with him so that you don't want to play with him all of a sudden. That's spite, and Michael's wrong on that. He did a wrong thing. Isaiah Thomas should have been on that team. And Christian Laettner, what's the guy's name? He shouldn't have been on the team. Isaiah should have been on the team. And no, there would have been no rift. They'd have shit talk, but there'd been no rift. You know, they did Isaiah dirty. I gotta be honest. Now I know Isaiah, he double speak and he's kind of sneaky too. I get you. He's kind of like a snake. I get you on that, but nah. Isaiah would have played good ball. The team chemistry wouldn't have no problem. It's just they spited him. And that's what I feel. That's my feelings on it. I think they did him dirty. And I understand him walking off in the 91 win where they just walked off. You know, but like Isaiah and they said, Boston did them the same thing. You know. So it is what it is. Now, is Isaiah a little salty that the Bulls kind of just took their dynasty away and they only got to win 2 games, 2 championships against 2 championships, but they never won no more and they was on a winning streak and then the Bulls just came up and sucked that out of them? Yeah, he might be bitter about that, which is why he don't really give Michael Jordan the credit that he deserves. He's kind of sparing with it. But honestly speaking, he needs to give Michael Jordan the credit he deserves. I know he said some nice things about Michael Jordan of late, but he need to give Michael Jordan the credit that he deserves. You know, Michael Jordan was a phenomenal basketball player, period. And no way the Bulls was winning shit without Michael Jordan. That's just the truth, right? He major scorer on the team. You know, major scorer on the team. Very creative in the air. Beautiful to watch. Finesse player, but yet had the savagery, you know. And, well, a lot of attention was put on Michael Jordan versus the rest of the team, so it is what it is. I know he was commercialized and the NBA sort of magnified him bigger than life and all of that. But he was a phenomenal player, though. You can't take it from him, man. Listen, Michael Jordan made me totally interested in basketball. I was not interested in basketball as much as Michael Jordan. And we need more Michael Jordans in the sport of basketball, obviously. You know, he's like a superhero on that court. So, we're not even going to try and like say like Michael Jordan. That's why I don't understand certain things. But I think Michael Jordan don't care about it now. And I think I don't care about it either. It's just that stats don't mean shit. Individual stats don't mean shit. Team wins and team championships is what matters. And, everybody said, Michael Jordan would never win a championship with, being scoring most of the points on the team. That don't happen. But he got it. He did it. And he was a major team scorer. And he even had his individual stats to back him up. So, he ended up being MVP and all these other things that went with it. And MVP doesn't really matter. That's why Scottie Pippen says, I'm the GOAT. And everybody's like, Jordan's the GOAT. And Scottie Pippen making fun of it. He said, I'm the GOAT. I want to be known as the greatest of all time. Scottie's just joking around because he's saying, I've been on the greatest team of all time, or arguably one of the greatest teams of all time. And therefore, I have the right to say, because I played the game well, that I'm a GOAT. And if Jordan says he's a GOAT, and if any other members of that team who worked real hard, Toni Kukoc, Steve Kerr, Ron Harper, B.J. Armstrong, Bill Cartwright, John Paxson. If they want to say they're the GOAT, they can say that because they was part of a GOAT team. You know what I'm saying? It's a team effort. And Scottie Pippen doesn't believe in no GOAT, really. Individual players are GOAT. Teams, yes. And Michael Jordan endorsed that. Michael Jordan came on and said, I don't believe in, individual GOAT status. I believe in GOAT teams. And, the 1991 to 1993 and the 1996 to 1998 Chicago Bulls, in his opinion, is GOAT team. And that's the way you should think about it. When you think of Stephen Curry and the Golden State Warriors, yeah, you say Stephen Curry, but you don't think of Stephen Curry and his individual stats and everything individual about him. No, you think about the team because the team had Draymond Green. You got, what's his name? I can see him, but I can't remember his name. The team was made up of players that all equally contributed to its success. We don't say Steph Curry is Batman and his team is Robin. They don't say that shit. So why would Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen be saying that shit? Michael Jordan even told you that in his Hall of Fame speech. He said, you can't mention Michael Jordan without mentioning Scottie Pippen. He told you. Scottie Pippen might have been a quieter guy and not getting as much shine as Michael Jordan, not getting the money that Michael Jordan got. But he was equally as important to that team's success as Michael Jordan. He ain't no sidekick. He ain't no Robin. Y'all need to stop disrespecting the man. He was a critical piece, as Jordan was a critical piece to that team's success. Without Scottie Pippen or without Michael Jordan, the team was not, this is facts, successful. In fact, Scottie Pippen was more successful than Michael Jordan in playoffs in his career than Michael Jordan was, showing you how important Scottie Pippen was to the success of the Bulls. Everybody like to say, well, what happened when Michael Jordan left the Bulls? Did Scottie Pippen get a ring? It's important he get a ring. I said, well, what the fuck happened to Michael Jordan when Scottie Pippen wasn't with the Bulls? He get a ring? Did he get a ring? Because it's important. Both of them didn't get no damn rings when they wasn't coupled together. They were equally important to that team's success. Custom Jones says, I heard these same talking points on ESPN. Yeah, Custom Jones. The thing about it is, though, ESPN never is truly honest. They are Michael Jordan centric. Ain't no way in hell the Bulls were going to be a successful team without both of them. Not one of them, both of them. They were equally as important. Why? When both of them were gone, the team went back to being in last place. That team had Toni Kukoc. It had Ron Harper, Steve Kerr, Jeb Buster, Randy Brown, Luke Longley, what's his name? Caffey. The team had everybody. that was there in the championships save Rodman, Jordan, and Pippen. And that team didn't do shit. So when Jordan left the team in 93, right? In 94, 93, 94 season, the team had the same amount of wins, almost the same amount of wins. I think they had 55 instead of 57. They started off real rough because they without Jordan, it was losing. It was losing game after game after game. And then they found their stride and they found their identity. Because while there was BG there, Horace Grant, and Bill Cartwright was still there, the team had changed. The dynamic of the team. There was no more John Paxson. There was no more, all the other players, Jason Williams and all them guys was gone. And these new players were there. So it was kind of like a new team, more or less. So they had to find their stride and everything. And Jordan was gone. And he was gone suddenly because his father died suddenly. So they didn't plan for this. And Pippen had to take on the mantle. And they did great. They went to the semifinals. And were it not for that bad call, they would have been in the finals. The Eastern Conference Finals playing, I think, was the Pacers or whoever they had to play. Or I think was it who did the Knicks play? They played, was it Boston or was it the Pacers? I can't remember. I think it was the Pacers. Right? And who's to say they wouldn't have beaten the Pacers and gotten into the finals to face the Rockets? And who's to say they wouldn't have beaten the Rockets? We don't know. We don't have no facts to back up nothing. So we can't say. Right? So my point being is that the Bulls should have won the series with the Knicks. They should have. Because the next game, the Bulls won. So if they had won that game before, they'd have won the series and they'd have moved on to facing the Pacers or whoever. CC Motion 1998 said, "What up, fam? What up, my brother? What up? What up?" So I'm just saying that it's one of those things where RJ Jenkins says, Isaiah Thomas said that his team destroyed Jordan in the 80s. Yeah, I mean, they had a great game plan for Jordan. And remember, the Pistons not only faced the Bulls in the finals, right, or in the conference finals or in the semifinals, but they also faced them in the regular season. And the Bulls was nothing. They used to beat the Bulls' ass. So they were used to beating the Bulls until 88. I think the Bulls beat the Pistons the first time in so many years, I think in 1989, I think. That's when they started beating them. And then in 1989, if I'm not mistaken, they had won a game against them in the conference when they faced them in the conference. I don't know, the semifinals or finals or whatever it was. So they had won a game against them. And then I think in 1990, they went to a game 7 and they lost the 7th game because Pippen had a headache or something, and Pippen couldn't play at his best. Pippen was such a key player with those Bulls. He was a key player. He'd give you those big steals. He'd give you those big blocks. He'd give you, because Pippen used to block shots. At a certain point in time, I think Pippen was the main shot blocker for the team. Always putting up great numbers. Everybody talk about Jordan. And yes, Jordan used to block plays. And the other thing is Pippen used to take charges. Put his body on the line, get in front of there and take charges too. There's so many things Pippen did in that game that stats don't really truly speak about, Pippen was a very good passer. It's not just assist. Assist is where you pass the ball, the guy scores, right? Yeah, okay. But Pippen was also a great passer. He passed the ball. It didn't necessarily mean that it was going to score, but he rotate the ball very well as well. And all of these things, setting up, picks and stuff like that. So they don't talk about that stuff too much, The Pistons was a dirty team. Come on, man. I'm tired of hearing people say that. Yeah, they were the bad boys. Yeah, they used to bust your nose, and if they take your feet out from under you, you fall bad and all that. But I would say this, though. I would say that the Celtics was rough and tough with you. You get in the paint, they'll slash you down. I mean, old school teams, you was not gonna get to no fucking, you was not gonna get no layup just like that. You ought to shoot them shots on the free throw line. And in the playoffs, man, people got busted nose. That's why guys used to have head guard and shit. Pippen got a nut in his head. That was from Patrick Ewing. They hit him with a nut. The Knicks was tough too. What you saying? They nasty? No, that's how teams back in the day used to play. It was rough and rugged. Just because it's Michael Jordan, that means they get easy on him? No, hell no. And the Bulls got tough because of that. That's why we got Hacker Shaq. Shaq was B strong. He was Diesel strong. But they used to hack his ass and say, nope, you're not getting nothing. You're not going to see that rim unless you're shooting free throws. You know? CC Motion 1998 said, "Want to say, fam, love your boxing analysis, especially with Roy Jones and Floyd beef." Yeah, but, I'm just saying, I think that Roy is coming from a certain perspective. Floyd is coming from a certain perspective. But the problem I have with Roy is when you start to misrepresent what truth is. When you start lying shit, that's where I get I don't like that. I know you sneak this in the man because you're not being honest. And I didn't like that about what Roy was doing. That's what I don't like about what Roy was doing. You understand? And Roy was there. He used to commentate for Floyd's fights and stuff. He knows firsthand. He knows what Floyd brings to the table. That's why I didn't like how he was doing. He was doing Floyd dirty. And I didn't like that. And so when Floyd started, Floyd came with facts. You remember Roy said, look at my highlights, look at Floyd's highlights, and you tell me who you prefer. So Floyd said, all right, I'm going to look at your highlights of you getting knocked the fuck out. You know what I'm saying? R. Jenkins says, the fouls then were flagrant fouls now. Yeah, well, of course. The game's played a lot cleaner now, for sure. CC Motion 998 is laughing about it. I'm just saying, bro. I'm just saying. And then he's like, oh, I'm so butthurt. He's so disrespectful. He don't respect the. I'm like, what are you talking about? Didn't you say go? He trolled him hard, man. He trolled him so hard. But hey, saying that, hey, I'm a big Roy Jones Jr. fan. And that motherfucker was sick. All right. Maybe he was using PEDs, maybe but he was using PEDs. But he was sick. And say what you want. Roy is a pioneer of so many things in boxing that there's no way I'm ever going to look at that man. And he got knocked out later on in his career, whatever. But this dude brought so much to boxing. He opened our minds. If you wasn't high off of Roy Jones Jr., I don't know what, because I used to copy Roy Jones Jr. I love what he used to do with that hand, boy. That shoulder feint and shit. Roy was the joint, man. I wasn't watching Floyd. I found out about Floyd later. I was all about Roy. And anybody who grew up in that time is trying to bring down Roy, y'all need to, fuck you. He was the goods. I don't care what nobody say. He was the goods. You know what I'm saying? And we know now certain things that, he was susceptible to, but at the time, nobody knew that. So we was high on Roy. I don't care what y'all say. I was high on Roy. As a fan, and to this day, there's certain emotional things when I see Roy do certain things in the ring. Oh, man, y'all must have forgot. He was a bad motherfucker, man. He just didn't know when to hang it up and say, okay, that's it for me in professional boxing. And that hurt so much. It hurt me, man. I didn't like seeing Roy get knocked out. I still don't like to see it because he's one of my favorite boxers, man. And Floyd copied him. Floyd loved Roy so much he copied him. He copied Roy's blueprint, right? That 50-0 thing, that's Roy. Floyd got that from Roy. Okay? The leaping left hook. Floyd did leaping left hooks, yeah, but Floyd was more of a check hook kind of guy. You watch him early in the career, he knocking out guys with check hooks. But that leaping left hook thing, that's Roy, man. Floyd did it in his own way. He had a different way of doing the leaping. Captain Hook, man. Captain Hook got him, boy. Captain Hook got him. So, even the way how Floyd managed his career, how he was able to make those millions, the entertainment he brought into the ring, that shit come off of Roy. all that hood stuff that Roy. Floyd saw, oh shit, I could be myself. I could represent where I come from. Roy opened all those doors, man. Entertainer. Roy was an entertainer, rapping his own shit. Where do you think Filthy Rich Records came from with Floyd? Roy. He took it off of Roy. Y'all need to know, man. Even the MMA crossover shit and fucking fight, that's Roy. Roy was doing that shit. So, I can't, I'm not going to just stand here and behave like if Roy wasn't that dude. He was that guy. Okay. So, someone said those old head boxers got to sit their ass down and let the kids get their shine. Yeah. That's something. Even Floyd was doing that. He was starting to shit on young fighters. And I didn't like that. And Floyd need to stop doing that shit. You know what I'm saying? You got to let people, boxing as a sport evolve. I listen to Larry Bird even talking about basketball, how it's evolved. And, people who are attached to one era over other eras, they need to let that shit go and just enjoy what they're seeing in front of them now. Appreciate LeBron James for what he is now. He can only be what he is in this era. And he's remarkable. He's got a long career, 4 championships, with 3 different teams. The man delivered in spades. You can't be, what are you saying? The man has a 20-year career, 20 fucking year career. That's crazy. Right? So, the kind of knowledge that guy has of the boxing, of basketball, you don't do that, And they try to still compare LeBron to Michael Jordan. They're different. They play different positions. They have different roles. LeBron is not Michael Jordan. Somebody who's more like Michael Jordan's like Kobe Bryant. LeBron's more like Scotty Pippen. So, it's just what it is. And I just thought I would share this with you guys, But, Roy and Floyd, they should be friends, man. This ego bullshit, they need to stop that. And, Floyd helps out Roy and Roy helps out Floyd. This is a weird thing. I just don't understand these guys. They be throwing jabs when it comes to professional boxing, that is. But, I guess they want to rank themselves a certain way. But Roy was saying that Floyd is not in his top 10 or top 5 best boxers of the world. Well, why is that a problem, though, ladies and gentlemen? Roy comes from an earlier time than Floyd. He's probably going to look at guys earlier than him, before him. He's not going to consider Floyd who's behind him, right? It's just what it is. You don't really see old school guys picking the new upcomers as better than, the guys that came before them, because this is the guys they looked at. They idolized. So it's not surprising to hear Roy say what he said. Just like it's not surprising to hear Floyd talk about his top 5, and they're mostly small guys. The only big guy there is Larry Holmes, right? He didn't bring in Muhammad Ali. Oh, travesty. Floyd didn't. He don't relate to Muhammad Ali like that. His father's a huge Muhammad Ali fan, but not Floyd. Floyd's not that guy. He emulated his stuff. He patterned his stuff after guys like Roberto Duran, right? Like Pernell Whitaker, okay? That's who he patterned himself after. So you have to think about it that way. So when a guy's saying this is my top 5, it's because these are the guys that made me who I am. If you get what I'm saying. Muhammad Ali is his guy, because Muhammad Ali's style and the way Muhammad Ali conducts himself, these are the guys who made him who he is. So obviously he's going to take it personal. Obviously he's going to be very offended when Floyd say anything about Muhammad Ali, because he patterned himself after Muhammad Ali, okay? So even if Floyd's being objective about Muhammad Ali and things that and that's why Floyd said Muhammad Ali and Roy Jones Jr. are the same guy in terms of footwork and stuff. Roy actually is more flamboyant, even more entertaining than Muhammad Ali. I know that's hard for some people to say, because Muhammad Ali used to talk mad shit too. But if you think about it, Floyd's more dynamic as a fighter than Muhammad Ali was. But Roy don't want to hear that. If I said, Roy, when I watched it, you took this thing to another level. Muhammad Ali was here, You are over here. You took it to another level, bro. You was more dynamic. You led with either hand. Your footwork was crazy. You stepped around guys. I mean, you made guys look like they didn't even belong in the ring with you, and they was like legendary fighters. I tell him that, he gonna get offense. He'd be like, no, bro. No, Muhammad Ali was because he idolized Muhammad Ali, okay? It's just what it is. You can't expect people who fed off of certain people and it was their motivation like that to want to take any credit whatsoever. It's crazy, but it is what it is, and he will tell you all the tricks that Muhammad Ali used to do in there, all the nuances, because he really studied Muhammad Ali. So when people say, oh, Muhammad Ali, all he used to do was box around the ring, he had fast hands, Roy would be like, Ninja, please stop. Just stop. We can't have a conversation because he really studied the man. You understand? CC Motion 1998. Exactly. Yeah. It's perspectives. It's just perspectives. Arthur Jenkins says Roy's style was so unorthodox that he did a lot wrong. And when he slowed down, his style caught up. I wouldn't say he was I wouldn't say he did everything wrong. He studied animals. So he understood what was the right thing to do. Jab and stuff. He understood that, but he took it to another level. He took fighting to another level. It wasn't unorthodox. He just added to the boxing game, and Floyd absorbed some of that. But Floyd was more fundamentally sound than Roy Jones Jr. was. It wasn't that he only depended on his quick reflexes and stuff. It was that the style he was bringing, it was emulating an animal, almost like Kung Fu. You understand? He watched the animal. He studied the chicken. And he was able to do that. He crouched like a chicken, and then he come with the left hook and he leap like a chicken at you. You understand? He emulated the animal. And since fighting is kind of animalistic, that's where he came from. Sometimes he bark at you, right? He emulated a dog. He emulated his dog. He bark at you, right? It's a feint. It's a body feint, but it's setting up something else. And this is the thing that Roy brought to the game. He did understand the fundamentals of boxing. He didn't practice it that much, especially inside fighting. I saw him become a better inside fighter later on. He used a stick and movement, but he didn't just stick. He stick with either hand. He could stick you with the right. He could make his right hand his lead hand. He could make his right hand a jabbing hand. He probed with either hands. And you see Floyd do the same thing. Floyd add new wrinkles, new dimensions to the game. So they say Roy don't have a jab. Yeah, he do have a jab. It's his right hand. And no, he's not going to stay in the southpaw stance to do it. He's going to square up a little bit more. Julio Cesar Chavez, he's going to square up a little bit more and shoot the right hand. But he's not going to change his stance just because of that. And then Roy would go from orthodox to southpaw. He'd interchange what we call shift in boxing. He would shift his stance and he'd go to southpaw sometimes, right? So Roy was doing some high elite level stuff now today. He understood what the lead hand was in a way that I marvel at today, because now fighters are starting to understand what I'm saying. Terrence Crawford is a guy that does something like that, but Terrence brings a whole lot of other stuff into the game. Terrence is more fundamentally sound than Roy, but Roy was coming from a boxing perspective. He was doing a lot of boxing shit. He could box. Roy could box very, very well. And we saw him against Vinny Pazienza actually utilizing the jab, and he had an excellent jab. So it's not that Roy didn't have the fundamentals of boxing down or understood them, should I say. It's that he did not implement certain skill sets. Like inside fighting wasn't his forte. It was not his forte. And he developed that later on. And the other thing is his defense wasn't always airtight. His defense was mostly his legs, as Floyd was saying. Muhammad Ali's defense also was his legs. And then he'd go into the rope-a-dope, he'd cover up everything as much as he could. But that's dangerous because, you can't just be doing that. And Floyd also did the same thing against Manny Pacquiao when he cover up just like that and he kind of rope-a-dope it. But if you look at Floyd's defense, it was very, very tight. Like he was extremely tight. He covered everything from the organs all the way up to his head. He was pretty tight with how and you could tell he that's the difference between Floyd and other fighters. You could tell this dude been working on that shit for years because of how flawless it was. Floyd, that's the thing. God gifted and skill and talent and all that and fundamentals and skills is all well and good, but you got to work on them all the time. And that's what Floyd did. That's what make him different. CC Motion 1998 says, I got to ask, some people saying Crawford will beat Canelo easy. I think this is going to be Crawford's hardest fight, but I'm rolling with Bud still. I'll say this. Crawford may make this fight look easy, but it ain't no easy fight. He might make it look easy, though. He might make it look easy because there's some glaring things about Canelo, man. There's some glaring shit about Canelo, man. Come on now. Y'all know what it is. Y'all know what he got problem with guys who have really educated footwork. Let me just put it that way. He don't know what to do with him. You know? And if there's anybody with really educated footwork out here, it's Terrence Crawford. We saw it against Errol Spence. You know? So, I mean, this is a gettable fight for Bud. We're going to see what it translates into. Canelo can box. It might be in his best interest to try and get Bud to come to him so he could counter him. Canelo's not the best guy at cutting off the ring either. He didn't cut off the ring against Jamel Charlo. You know what I'm saying? He didn't cut off the ring against Mel. He didn't cut off the ring recently against this Cuban fighter here. Couldn't cut it off. Couldn't cut off the ring against Bevo. Was having difficulty cutting off the ring against Caleb Plant. So you see the pattern, man. Even Sergey Kovalev, yeah, he knocked out Sergey Kovalev, but Sergey Kovalev's out boxing his ass. So what I'm trying to say is, you know, Canelo has problems with guys who know what they're doing in there with their feet. You know, he had tremendous problems with Floyd. And Floyd was fighting him toe-to-toe at a certain point, but again, stepping around him, always stepping around him, getting that angle. Even when they're in close, body to body, step around him, you know, and then pop, step around, you know. And I could see Bud doing stuff like that. So that's why I said, you know, it might be a hard fight, but it's not going to look that way. It might appear, or shall I say, it might appear easier than you guys are thinking. And, but it might be a hard fight. CC Motion 1998 says, great take. Canelo is a slugger where Bud is a systematic boxer with high IQ. But he can't take it lightly. No, I'm not saying overlook Canelo. Don't overlook Canelo. Canelo is not somebody to be overlooked. But I agree with you that Bud's a guy that, you know, you know, he got everything to beat Canelo, man. He's like Mayweather 2.0 on steroids. Pun intended. I'm not saying he's on steroids. I just want to let you guys know. I'm just saying. Now, Bud, of all people out there, Bud's probably the guy that's going to beat Canelo. Yeah. If anybody's going to beat Canelo. And I'm not saying he stops Canelo. Anything's possible, though. But I'm saying he could beat Canelo. You know? And that's going to be great because he's going to go in the history books. 3-time undisputed world champion. 2 of the undisputed titles against pound-for-pound fighters. That's fucking phenomenal, man. He can't top that. So we'll see how Bud, if he pulls it off. CC Motion 998 says, nah, Young Mayweather was a different animal. No, Pretty Boy Floyd was bad. A bad motherfucker. Nobody's saying no. I'm not saying no. I'm just saying, though, that the Mayweather that fought Canelo wasn't a young Mayweather. It was 36 years old. And his footwork, particularly talking about his footwork, was able to get him close, step around Canelo and just wail on him. And I'm just saying that Bud is like that. He can do that. That's what I'm trying to say. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that, you know. People ask me, who do I think in all of boxing history could beat Floyd, and I keep on saying it over. If there's anybody who could beat Floyd Mayweather, it would be Terrence Crawford. If there's anybody, it would be Terrence. You know, that fight will never happen, but I'll pick Terrence over Floyd. Now, with respect to anybody else, I really don't see them beating Floyd like that. I just don't. You know, if you're going to be an honest, objective person, Floyd did too many things in the sport of boxing. I'm talking about in terms of preparation. Always staying ready. Wasn't using any drugs or alcohol or anything to mess up his body. Always focused, especially after the Paul Spatafore sparring. Stayed in shape year round. Always running. So completely dedicated. And then he tried to get mentally in your head. He looked for every advantage he could possibly use over you. So to make sure he won, he took nothing for granted. He took no opponent for granted. That Floyd Mayweather is very, very, very hard to beat. Very hard to beat. You know? I don't care who you are. You could be Roberto Duran. You could be Julio Cesar Chavez. You could be Sugar Ray Leonard. And I love Leonard. You could be Thomas the Hitman Hearns. Dude, mentally speaking, this motherfucker was on another plane to all of those guys. You know? Mentally, he was just in another place, man. And that's because of his work ethic. He outworked everybody. You know, his work ethic was ridiculous, man. CC Motion says, Terrence over Floyd. Come on, man. That Philly shell defense is undefeated. I wouldn't be worried about the shell defense. Floyd has defense. You know, Canelo has defense. So I'm not worried about them too much when it comes to that. What I'm saying, though, is Terrence brings a lot of that intensity that Floyd has to the game of boxing, to his game. Plus, ladies and gentlemen, he ambidextrous. He can go either way, and he can just switch it up on you. He's not as quick as Floyd, but his timing is ridiculous. And then those kinds of weird rubbery shots that he do in between a jab and a hook, or a right hand and a right hook, and them kind of shit. Yeah, he gonna catch Floyd. And, you know, the question would be, could Floyd make an adjustment to it? We saw it with Marcos Maidana, but I think Terrence is more intentional. I think more clinical. I think he's more smarter a fighter than Marcos is. And I think he can be as relentless as Marcos Maidana if necessary. You know, if he has to be the aggressor. Not saying that Floyd mightn't be the aggressor, because Floyd would have a reach disadvantage as well. I just think Terrence brings a lot to the table that we haven't even seen Terrence's full potential. He would definitely bring out the best in Floyd. That would be a hell of a fight. But I think Terrence would beat Floyd. Yeah, I think he has the attributes and the skill set, the mindset, the IQ to do it. Again, the dude idolized Floyd, grew up with Floyd, was watching Floyd all the time. You know, once you know, those kinds of fighters, man, they usually are the guys that the torch gets passed to, because, you know, they're really into it and they add extra to the game. And Terrence is very respectful of Floyd because, you know, he knows. Terrence Crawford's best fighter of all time is Floyd Mayweather. That should tell you everything you need to know. Everything you need to know. Everything. So would he beat Floyd? Abso-fucking-lutely, I think. I don't think so. You have to be a fan of a guy and love that guy so much to beat his ass. You ain't gonna beat no guy if you don't like him and you ain't be watching him and that kind of shit. You're not beating a guy like that. CC Motion 9098 says, I forgot to ask you, fam. What do you think of Tank versus Jake Paul? Did your standard for Tank go down? Yes, sir. My standard for Tank has gone down. I thought he would have rematched Lamont Roach. He's taking this fight. Maybe he'll rematch Lamont Roach after. I think this fight is just a waste of time. It's not for him because he's making money. But it's just not the fight. I'm not interested in that fight, man. And there's no winner. It's an exhibition. It's a money grab. And I don't know. Floyd never did that in the middle of his career. Why are you doing that now, man? It's very disappointing because you want Tank to face. He hasn't faced the very best in any division. He's faced some good fighters. He's never faced the very best in any division, and it's just heartbreaking. You can't even get Tank versus Shakur. Can't even get a rematch with Lamont Roach. It's just disappointing. He has a disappointing career. That's all I'm saying. But he made money, so I guess he's good with that. But it's disappointing. Very disappointing. CC Motion 99.8 says, what's crazy is people will actually pay to see it. Oh, yeah, they go into it. Circus. It's the circus. It's what we call the sideshow. Two boxing. And these days, the sideshow is bigger than the actual boxing events. It's what it is. Well, kind of. Not really, but kind of. And that's sad. Why would we watch a heavyweight fight a lightweight? Why? And it's an exhibition. Nobody gets to win. Somebody could get knocked out, but nobody gets to win. I'm not into that, man. Of course, if Tank knocks out Jake Paul, everybody gonna build so much hype. Oh, Tank is this could be a nice PR spin for the Lamont Roach close fight that Lamont Roach actually won. So that it kind of works in his favor somewhat for the casual fans. Anyways, that's what I got for you guys. I'm almost at 2 hours. I think I'll give myself 3 more minutes and then I'll call it a day for the stream. But I just wanted to emphasize the point of how good Scotty Pippen and the Bulls were. He wasn't no sidekick. I'm tired of hearing people say he was a sidekick or whatever, afterthought or whatever. This man, he is, I think, number 35 in the greatest basketball players of all time. He's ranked at number 35, and he's a great player, man. He was a great player. And Scotty been saying some things that are true. It might sound strange to some people because they always feel like he played second fiddle to Michael Jordan, but he never did. He just had a different role. And Michael Jordan knows that. And that's why he mentioned Scottie Pippen in his Hall of Fame speech. And people need to understand that. I'm going to catch you guys later. I am what you need. Peace.